Right now, somewhere in your house, there is a box of ammunition that could jam your gun at the worst possible moment, wreck your extractor, or in the ugliest cases, put a stuck case in a barrel that never should have fired again. And the scary part is you would have no way of knowing until it happens. Every single year, the ammo market floods with more brands, more bulk deals, more mystery imports promising the same performance for half the price. Some of that ammunition is genuinely fine. A shocking amount of it is not, and the difference almost never shows up on the label. This is not a video about internet rumors or brand hate. Everything you are about to hear comes down to real engineering, case material, primer consistency, manufacturing tolerance, the kind of thing that shows up in a stuck case or a cracked extractor claw, not a comment section argument. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which categories of ammo are quietly working against your gun and what to check before you ever load another magazine. Let's get into it. Number 5. Unmarked bulk import. Steel case 9mm. Walk down the ammo aisle of any big box store and you will find pallets of unbranded or barely branded steel case 9mm, usually imported in bulk and sold purely on price per round. The core problem is not the steel itself. Plenty of established manufacturers build reliable steel case ammunition. The problem is that a no-name import brand rarely publishes consistent load data from batch to batch, and steel case ammunition already runs closer to the edge of tolerance than brass. Steel does not expand and seal the chamber the way brass does, a process called obturation. Brass flexes to grip the chamber wall on firing and springs back afterward, letting the case pull free cleanly. Steel resists that flex, which is why shooters running any steel case ammunition through a tight tolerance pistol occasionally report stuck cases or harder than normal extraction, especially as the chamber picks up carbon fouling over a range session. Stack inconsistent lot quality control on top of that baseline steel case trade-off, and you get the real risk. A box that runs fine followed by a box that does not, with no way to tell which one you are holding until you are already at the range. Takeaway: unbranded bulk steel case ammunition asks you to gamble on lot consistency that an established brand would actually stand behind. There is also a practical way to protect yourself here that most buyers skip entirely. Before you commit to a case of any unfamiliar steel case brand, buy a single box first and run it through your specific pistol on a normal range day, not a controlled bench session. Watch for anything that feels off. A noticeably harder ejection, a case that comes out with visible drag marks, or a slide that cycles just a little sluggish compared to what you are used to. Those small signs are your early warning system, and they show up long before a genuine stoppage does. A single box costs you almost nothing to test. A case of ammunition that turns out to be a bad lot costs you a wasted range trip and, in the worst version of this, a stuck case you need tools to clear. Number 4. Uncoated budget steel case. Rifle ammo. This is a step beyond generic steel case pistol ammunition, because rifle pressures and rifle round counts make the same underlying problem noticeably worse. Cheap steel case rifle ammunition typically pairs a bimetal jacketed bullet, a copper wash steel jacket rather than pure copper, with a lacquer or polymer-coated steel case. That bimetal jacket is harder than pure copper and wears rifling faster over a high round count, which is a real and well-documented trade-off of budget. Steel case rifle ammo generally, not a rumor. The bigger everyday annoyance is what happens when you switch back to brass mid-session. Steel cases do not seal the chamber the same way brass does, so hot gas blows past the case wall and deposits extra carbon fouling directly into the chamber. Shooters who run a full range bag of mixed ammunition regularly report that a brass case chambered right after a long steel case session sticks noticeably harder than it should because the brass expands fully into a carbon ring. The steel never cleared out. In a rifle built and chambered specifically around steel-cased ammunition, like many AK pattern rifles, this trade-off is manageable and well understood. In a precision AR-15 build with a tight match chamber, it is a genuine liability. Takeaway: budget steel case rifle ammo trades long-term chamber cleanliness and barrel life for a lower price per round. And that trade only makes sense if you know exactly what gun you are putting it through. The chamber fouling issue specifically deserves more attention than it usually gets, because it is completely invisible until the exact moment it becomes a problem. You will not see a warning sign during the steel case session itself. Everything cycles fine, the rifle runs, and there is no indication anything is building up. It is only when you load a brass-cased round afterward, often the next range trip entirely, that the carbon ring left behind by the steel cases grips the fresh brass and turns a routine chambering into a real fight. A quick chamber brush pass between switching case materials solves this completely. and it takes about 30 seconds. Most shooters who run into this problem simply never knew the step existed, not because it is complicated, but because nobody told them steel and brass leave the chamber in noticeably different conditions. Number 3. Bulk Pack Budget Rimfire. 22 long rifle is where budget ammunition gets the most forgiving pass from shooters, and also where inconsistency does the most quiet damage over time. Rimfire ignition depends on a priming compound spun evenly around the inside of the case rim, not a centered primer like centerfire ammunition. That manufacturing step is genuinely harder to keep consistent at high volume, which is exactly why bulk pack rimfire ammunition has an established reputation across the shooting community for a higher dude rate than premium rimfire lines like CCZI minimags, particularly in semi-automatic pistols and rifles that rely on a lighter firing pin strike than a bolt action gun delivers. A bolt gun's heavier, more deliberate strike can crush through a slightly uneven priming compound that a blowback semi-auto's lighter strike sometimes cannot. The exposed, uncoated lead bullet common in the cheapest bulk lines adds a second issue: raw lead fouling deposited directly into the rifling, which accelerates cleaning intervals and, in extreme buildup, can measurably affect accuracy and even chamber pressure over an extended session without cleaning. None of this makes budget rimfire dangerous to own. It makes it frustrating to depend on, especially if you are testing a new pistol or rifle and trying to draw honest conclusions about the gun itself, rather than the ammunition running through it. Takeaway: budget bulk rimfire is genuinely fine for casual plinking, but it is the wrong tool for evaluating a gun's true reliability. This distinction matters most for anyone buying a new rimfire pistol or rifle and forming an opinion about it during that very first range session. If your brand new 22 runs a box of bulk pack ammunition and produces 2 or 3 dead primers, it is genuinely easy to assume the gun itself has a problem, when what actually happened is the ammunition asked more of the firing pin than it could reliably deliver. Before writing off a new rimfire gun as unreliable, run a box of a premium rimfire line through it first. If the failures disappear, you just learned something important about the ammunition, not the gun. And that is exactly the kind of mix-up that leads to a perfectly good firearm getting traded away for the wrong reason. Number 2. Aluminum case, non-remanufacturable budget loads. Aluminum case ammunition earns its lower price primarily by cutting material cost, and that cost cutting comes with trade-offs most buyers never read about before they buy a bulk case. Aluminum cases are typically burden primed rather than boxer primed, which means they cannot be reloaded, and they also flex less predictably than brass under pressure. Some shooters report noticeably more case mouth cracking and split necks in aluminum case ammunition compared to brass at the same price point, particularly in guns with a slightly generous chamber, since aluminum does not have the same forgiving elasticity brass does. This is a widely discussed trade-off among reloaders and high-volume range shooters, not a fringe complaint. For casual range use in a modern, well-maintained pistol, aluminum case ammunition from an established manufacturer is genuinely fine and a real way to save money. The risk concentrates specifically in older guns, guns with generous chamber tolerances, or high round count range sessions where a split case is more likely to cause a stoppage that takes longer to clear than a simple failure to eject. Takeaway: aluminum case ammo is a legitimate budget option in the right gun, but know that you are trading reloadability and case durability for that lower price. Worth noting too, the same forgiveness that makes a modern striker fired pistol tolerate aluminum case ammunition does not automatically carry over to every gun you own. A pistol with a fully supported chamber and tight factory tolerances handles the reduced elasticity of aluminum without complaint. An older design with a partially unsupported chamber, common in some compact and subcompact pistols built to save weight, is exactly where that reduced elasticity becomes a real concern, since the case has less chamber wall supporting it at the moment of highest pressure. Check your specific pistol's chamber support before assuming aluminum case ammunition is automatically safe across every gun in your collection, because the manufacturer's own manual is usually the most honest source of that answer. Number 1. Unverified, remanufactured, and reloaded range ammo. Here is the one that should scare you more than any factory brand on this list because it is not really a brand at all. It is a category, and it is the one with the least accountability of anything covered today. Remanufactured ammunition takes fired brass, most of it collected from public ranges with no record of how many times it has already been fired or what pressure it was loaded to, and reloads it with fresh components. When this process is done carefully by an established, quality-controlled remanufacturer, the result can be a genuinely safe, cost-effective product. The danger is that remanufactured ammo sold in generic packaging through online marketplaces and gun show tables often comes with zero traceability. You cannot verify the brass has not been fired past a safe number of cycles. You cannot verify the powder charge was measured consistently round to round. And you cannot verify the primer seating was done to spec. This matters because every time brass is fired and resized, it work hardens and becomes more brittle. Cheap or careless remanufacturing skips the inspection steps that catch a case that has reached the end of its safe life. And a case failure at the moment of firing is not a minor inconvenience. It is a real safety event that can damage a firearm and injure the shooter holding it. If you want the cost savings of reloaded ammunition, buy from a remanufacturer with a real name, a real quality control process, and a real return policy, not a folding table price sticker, and no way to ask a single question about how the brass was sourced. Takeaway: unverified remanufactured ammunition is the one category on this list where the savings genuinely are not worth the unknown risk. There is a simple screening habit that separates a trustworthy remanufacturer from a risky one, and it has nothing to do with price. Ask how they inspect brass before it goes back into the reloading process. A legitimate operation will tell you specifically: visual inspection for case cracks and head separation, case gauging to confirm dimensions are still within spec, and a defined limit on how many times a given batch of brass gets reloaded before it is retired. A vague answer or no answer at all is the actual warning sign, far more telling than the price on the box. The savings on remanufactured ammunition can be real and worth pursuing. The savings on remanufactured ammunition from a seller who cannot explain their own inspection process are not worth pursuing at any price. 5 categories. 5 completely different reasons real shooters end up with ammunition that cost them more in frustration, wear, or risk than it ever saved them at the register. None of this is about brand loyalty or gatekeeping what you choose to shoot. It is about understanding what you are actually trading away every time you chase the lowest price per round. The honest rule that ties all 5 of these together is simple: know what you are buying, know what gun it is going into, and know whether the manufacturer actually stands behind the batch in your hand. Cheap ammunition is not automatically bad ammunition. Unaccountable ammunition is. Hit that like button if this helped you look at your own range bag a little differently. Subscribe for more honest breakdowns like this one. Drop a comment telling us which of these categories you have personally run into trouble with and what you switch to instead. Stay safe, stay trained, and know exactly what you are feeding your gun before you pull the trigger.